Someone already knows which accusation will make you defend yourself. Maybe they call you too sensitive in front of people. Maybe they send a text that says, "So now you're ignoring me?" Or maybe they twist one sentence and watch how fast you rush to prove you are not guilty. That is the silent test. They are not looking for truth. They are watching for panic. Because the second you start explaining, correcting, and defending, you step into the role they prepared for you. You become the suspect. They become the judge. And everyone else becomes the audience. But the moment you stop defending yourself, something changes. If they wanted truth, they slow down. If they wanted control, they push harder. They repeat the accusation. They exaggerate it. They try to pull other people into it, then watch their face the second you refuse to play the guilty role. That flash of frustration, that forced confidence, that sudden need to make you look worse. That is the moment the mask slips. The goal was never to understand you. The goal was to make you panic, over-explain, and give them more words to twist. Controlling people use 3 specific traps to force you into this role. The first is the vague accusation. They say, "You know what you did," or "You always do this," or "I'm just asking," while their tone has already convicted you. And if you rush to explain, you lose before the real conversation even starts. Because now you are not answering a question. You are defending your status. So the silent test is simple. Stop defending for one moment and watch what they do next. Do they pause because they want truth? Or do they escalate because they needed control? That answer tells you more than your explanation ever could. And once you see it, you understand the first behavior they reveal. The trap is not the accusation. The trap is making you prosecute yourself. When someone says, "You know what you did," they are not asking for information. They are demanding that you provide the evidence against yourself. You start running through every interaction, every word, every look, trying to figure out what crime you committed. You become your own prosecutor, building a case against your own status. And in this game, if you are the one over-explaining, you are the one losing ground. That is the quietest part of the silent test. They give you a blank accusation and wait for your guilt reflex to fill it in. Picture this. You walk into a room and someone says, "You always do this." Your mind immediately starts racing. What do I always do? When did I do it? How many times? You start explaining your tone, your timing, your intentions, your history, even though they still have not named the actual charge. They twisted my words to make me look like the bad guy, and I helped them do it by providing more material. Here's what's really happening. The vague accusation forces you to defend your entire character instead of addressing a specific behavior. When they say, "You always," you feel compelled to prove you don't always. When they say, "You never," you scramble to show examples of when you did. You are not having a conversation. You are being cross-examined. The moment you start explaining what you meant, what you intended, what you were thinking, you have accepted the premise that you are guilty until proven innocent. And in that courtroom, they are the only judge that matters. But here's the power move. When someone makes a vague accusation, you respond with a specific question. What exactly are you referring to? Not defensive, not panicked, just a calm request for clarity. Watch what happens next. If they wanted truth, they will provide specifics. If they wanted control, they will get frustrated that you didn't take the bait. The second trap is even more calculated. It's the reaction bait. They are not just trying to make you mad. They are trying to prove you are too unstable to lead the conversation. Because if they can make you look unstable, they do not have to answer what they did. Your reaction becomes their receipt. They say things like, "You're too sensitive," right after they said something deliberately harsh. Or, "So now, I'm the bad guy," when you point out their behavior. Or, "Look at you, you're acting weird," when you stop responding the way they expect. They provoke the emotion, Then use the emotion as evidence that you cannot be trusted with adult conversations. I felt like I was on trial in my own living room. The more I explained, the crazier they made me sound, because every word I said in my defense became proof that I was defensive. Every emotion I showed became evidence that I was unstable. They collected my reactions like they were evidence. Here's the frame they are building. You are too emotional to see clearly. You are too reactive to handle feedback. You are too sensitive to deal with reality. And the more you try to prove you are not those things, the more you appear to be exactly those things. The reaction bait works because it puts you in an impossible position. Stay calm, and they say you don't care. Get upset, and they say you are proving their point. But there is a third option. You acknowledge the frame without accepting it. I can see you are trying to get a reaction from me. What do you actually need? This is where most people make the mistake. They think the goal is to prove they are not sensitive, not reactive, not unstable. The goal is to refuse to be evaluated by someone who is using your emotions against you. The third trap is the most dangerous because it turns private manipulation into public humiliation. It's the audience trap. By the time you start explaining, the room already has a version of you. They accuse you where your reputation is watching. They say things like, "We all think you have been acting strange lately," or "Everyone noticed how you reacted at dinner," or "People are saying you have changed." Suddenly, you are not just defending yourself to one person. You are defending yourself to an invisible jury that has apparently already reached a verdict. The audience trap works because it makes you feel isolated and outnumbered before you even know what you are accused of. You start wondering who "we all" includes. You start replaying interactions with other people, looking for signs that they think less of you. You start explaining yourself to people who never asked for an explanation. But here's what they are not telling you. Most of the time, there is no "we all." There is no "everyone." There are no people saying anything. It's a psychological technique to make you feel like your reputation is at stake when really it's just one person trying to control how you see yourself. The moment you start defending your character to an invisible audience, you have lost control of the conversation. Because now you are not talking to the person in front of you. You are talking to the imaginary crowd in their head. Most people think silence is passive, a sign of surrender. It isn't. Silence is how you retrieve your status without asking for permission. And the first sign it worked is what they do when your reaction disappears. When you stop defending yourself, they escalate. If silence makes them more aggressive, they were not looking for clarity. They were looking for control. A person who wanted truth would slow down when you stopped talking. They would ask better questions. They would give you space to think. But a person who wanted control will push harder the moment you stop giving them what they want. Watch the difference. Someone seeking truth says, "Take your time. Help me understand." Someone seeking control says, "So, you have nothing to say?" Your silence says everything. You are just going to ignore me? The escalation is the tell. They never actually wanted the truth. They just wanted to win, and your silence just took away their favorite weapon, which is your words. The second reveal is even more telling. They attack your calmness. They cannot use your explosion, so they prosecute your silence. So, you don't care? Why are you so quiet? You are being cold. That silence says everything. This is where most people fold. They think their silence is being misinterpreted, so they rush to explain that they do care. They are not being cold, they are just thinking. But your silence is not being misinterpreted, it's being weaponized. They are trying to make your composure look like cruelty. Here's what's really happening. Your calm is threatening to them because it means they cannot predict or control your next move. Emotional people are easy to manipulate. Calm people are not. So they try to make you feel guilty for being the stable one in the room. The mask slipped the second I stopped playing along. They act like your boundaries are a crime. Your refusal to engage becomes evidence of your coldness. Your decision to think before you speak becomes proof that you do not care. But the third reveal is the most important one. It shows you what this was always about. They valued access, not truth. The moment you become hard to use is the moment you see who they really are. When you stop defending yourself, you stop giving them unlimited access to your emotional state. You stop letting them rearrange your thoughts. You stop allowing them to rewrite your reality. And that withdrawal of access reveals something crucial. They didn't value you. They valued the access. A person who cared about you would respect your need to process. A person who cared about truth would want you to think clearly. A person who cared about the relationship would not punish you for taking a moment to respond thoughtfully. But a person who valued access above everything else will see your silence as theft. They will see your boundaries as betrayal. They will see your refusal to be reactive as evidence that you have changed, that you do not care, that you are not the person they thought you were. They are right about one thing. You are not the person they thought you were. You are not someone who can be manipulated into giving a performance every time they demand one. You are not someone whose emotional state can be controlled by accusations and implications. You are not someone who will defend themselves against charges that were never meant to be proven or disproven. Here's your tactical framework. Answer once. If they ask you a direct question, give a direct answer, but do not repeat yourself. Do not elaborate. Do not provide additional evidence for or against yourself. Refuse the guilty role. The moment someone treats you like a suspect, stop acting like one. You do not owe a full character defense to someone who refuses to name a specific behavior. Stop over-explaining. Every additional word you provide is another opportunity for them to find something wrong with what you said. Gifting them more words to twist is not generosity. It's self-sabotage. Watch what they do next. Do they respect your boundary or do they push harder? Do they ask better questions or do they repeat the same accusations? Do they give you space or do they demand immediate compliance? Respond to behavior, not accusation. If they escalate when you stay calm, you are not dealing with someone who wants resolution. If they attack your silence, you are not dealing with someone who respects your process. If they punish you for having boundaries, you are not dealing with someone who values you. The silent test is not about being stubborn or difficult. It's about choosing sanctuary over a circus. Your silence is a structural diagnostic. Watch where the cracks appear. Don't absorb the liability for their foundational flaws. The moment you stop defending yourself, you stop helping them hide who they are. And this is why people who give too much often lose respect, because unlimited access teaches controlling people that your silence is just a pause, not a boundary. To see how your own kindness is being used to strip your status, watch the video on the screen next.